So my first YouTube video was, I remember I was like, hi, I'm Elz The Witch and welcome to my channel. And then I did an explanation of me and sort of my, similar to what I've spoken about today, really, like these are my favorite games. This is when I first started gaming because I wanted to give that context before I could just start uploading all the content. So December 2018, and I decided that my schedule would be twice a week. So every Sunday and every Wednesday, I would upload 2 videos a week, different content. So I would have either playing The Sims or reacting to a new game that's come out. And then I started introducing slowly my friends. So I would do collaborations with people that I'm friends with or people that I didn't know but had connections with just from living in London and networking. So yeah.
So this is really interesting because as you're saying all this, like it just diverts me back 3 years ago to when I started my channel, right? You know, as we said, from the lighting and doing all this ourselves. And this is a problem that some people make today when they want to start YouTube channels. They want to just outsource everything, right? And the thing I think is, all right, that's one thing, but then that stops your creative juices from flowing, right? But I want to ask you how it was for your first year on YouTube and how it actually grew. Because it's one thing having numbers on Instagram, but shifting that to YouTube and making all the content there, I want to know how that was for you.
I would say my YouTube was a blank slate because I don't think my Instagram audience were interested in gaming, to be honest with you. So I was literally starting out fresh on that. I obviously had targets that I wanted to achieve. I think if I think back to that spreadsheet that I made when I was trying to get investment, one of them was like hit 100,000 views at some point. I didn't have...
Okay, you didn't have a timeline.
No, because I anticipated that it may be a slow start. I think that was my top goal anyway, just to hit 100,000 views and then just play games and like have me as have Elz The Witch as a brand. So I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't really understand how much time and work it would take because I see a lot of people come to me for advice now in terms of my child or I want to start a YouTube channel. What's the best advice you would give? Like you've probably had that question 100 times. My one is to be consistent because I think a lot of people will come in, upload a few YouTube videos, see that the views aren't great or they're not doing
and then stop.
Great numbers and then just give up. You can't do that because you have to just keep going. And I can't tell you how demoralizing it is so some of my favorite videos have got the least views. Some of my least favorite videos have got the most views.
That's like some of my favorite podcasts and stuff,
I literally could not tell you why. I remember particularly in it was sort of the first 6 months, I didn't go out really at all. I was just at my computer, either filming, editing or planning. I was still going to the gym, but I wasn't eating properly. It all hit me about 9 months afterwards and I just got really ill. But at the time I was just like, every day I need to wake up and I need to make this work because I don't want to fail. I'll be embarrassed. So I remember this one video I did. It was on The Sims, which is one of my favorite games. I love creating. I love making these big extravagant buildings. And I spent, I think, about 3 days making this one house. Then I filmed the video. I can't even remember what the video was. And then I edited it and put it out. And it didn't do great views. And I just remember being so tired. And I was like, I've put so much effort into this video. And it's come out, it's not done great. But then you have to be like, okay, I've got to wake up tomorrow and do it all over again, film again. And I think it was just having those experiences of putting out content, it not doing what you maybe expected it to do, but persevering anyway, that really sort of programmed me to just be like, just got to keep going and be consistent and have that drive to succeed even when things aren't necessarily going to plan. So I would say the first 3, and someone actually told me this interestingly, the first 3 months of starting something new, in particular for me, it was YouTube, is all about learning. So I was putting out content, learning if my audience enjoyed it, learning if I enjoyed making it. And from there, I started to be like, okay, I want to play The Sims, for example. But my audience, which I was attracting, is demographic wise, and it still is now, sort of 16 to 24, 80% male, because it's gaming, even though women game. But I think I was doing things like The Sims, but I was also playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, FIFA. So it's a balance, right? And I want to appeal to my audience and engage them. So I was like, okay, how can I apply to my audience but play games that I want to play? So I started doing things like I would create Wembley Stadium but in The Sims, or I would create the Love Island Villa but in The Sims. So it was doing something that was entertainment based but making it something that I wanted to do. So from sort of learning YouTube and the YouTube world, I learned how I could make content I wanted to make, but also make it appeal to my audience. So the first sort of 3 to 6 months were all about grinding, learning, introducing those collaborations, which I mention it's because it's so key to the growth of my platform. And I will always say I was in a really lucky position. Lucky, I think luck, and also just like with me networking and just being present. And I had a few connections within sort of the entertainment industry, and I had done a few collaborations with AJ Tracy, who I've been friends with. I've known him for about 7 or 8 years. So he came on my channel very early on. We played FIFA together, and a few other people in the music industry, and then KSI. So Austin, one of my managers, was working with KSI because he was doing his music at the time, and Austin was at Spotify. So he naturally was in a room with him and said, I'm managing this girl called Elz. Would you come on her channel and do a video? Which I had, perspective wise, at this point, I think I had about 3,000 subscribers.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
this is like
but this is still, and also getting those first 1,000 subscribers,
the hardest thing ever.
The hardest part of it all. So that was a lot. For me to even have 3,000 subscribers, I was gassed. I was so excited, and I was so proud of what I'd achieved in those sort of first 4 or 5 months. So at the point where Austin had asked KSI, would you come on her channel? For him to say yes, because I think we'd had a few mutual friends, so maybe naturally he may have seen my channel or just heard of me before that. For him to say yes and then actually come on my channel and do a video changed everything. And I will always really respect what he did for me in terms of that. So that was 5 months in. So we recorded the video. We played The Sims because I wanted to get him on my channel but play something that people wouldn't expect him to do. So up until this point, for anyone who's listening who don't know, KSI and the Sidemen all came up from playing video games, FIFA, things like that, GTA, and then they were doing their own sort of entertainment videos. So I wanted to get him on my channel but play a game that people hadn't seen him play, because I thought, or I hoped in my brain, that in the algorithm or something that would click with people, because they're like, oh, KSI, I've not seen him do that before, let me click on it. So I put the video out and it did good for my channel, right? So I think by the end of the first week it had hit 50,000 views, which was by far the most the most viewed video on my channel. And then 2 weeks later, randomly, and this is what I love about YouTube, I don't even know what happened, but it just went
spikes,
and it's still now to this day, I think it's on 2.3 million views or something. But between 50 to 1.5 million took about 3 days. It just went crazy. And then obviously my platform started growing because of that. It integrated out of YouTube. So one thing I also love about YouTube is how your audience is so engaged and they tend to follow you across the apps because it's long form content and people really get to know you as a personality. So they would follow me to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So it sort of spread, my platform grew, and then naturally because of that, brands start looking at you. So this was 2019 and just before lockdown. So things continued to grow. I got an opportunity to present in the August of that year at the FIFA eWorld Cup 2019. I, at this point, had only done radio, so I'd never presented on stage. And this was a 1-minute segment. It was on Sky Sports at the O2 Arena. The audience they get for the eWorld Cup is crazy numbers. And I was too scared to do it. And
how did you feel when you saw that email or however they reached out to you?